Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Guys of Magic. This is Hunter, Steven, and Shane. Say what up, guys.
Hello, everyone.
Good morning, nerds.
Wow. Spoiler alert, this is the morning.
Yeah.
Not for me.
It's not for you. But we are here talking about the final Commander Grades video for Bloomburrow. That's right, we made it to the end. It's the final 10 legendary multicolored creatures that can be a commander. So if you're new here, what do we do? We talk about these legendary creatures as commanders, give them a grade from our individual selves, and then a average grade at the end. This is all of our opinions, not gospel. It's not guaranteed that these are correct grades, but
Mine are.
but Stevens is. But yeah, so let's go ahead and get into this. If you guys haven't already seen the other grades videos, because this is the last one, check the link in the description for all those. And let's start it with this first one. It is Helga, Skittish, Seer. It's green, white, blue for a 1/3 legendary creature frog druid. It says whenever you cast a creature spell with mana value 4 or greater, you draw a card, gain 1 life, and put a +1/+1 counter on Helga, Skittish, Seer. You can also tap it, add X mana of any one color where X is Helga, Skittish, Seer's power. Spend this mana only to cast creature spells with mana value 4 or greater, or creature spells with X in their mana costs. Very cool, Steven.
It is very cool. I see. I know you guys don't really like cards like this with the X mana cost because I don't know. Sometimes it's kind of rough, but like I love these kind of cards.
I
I mean,
like this kind of card too.
it's a very cool way to build a deck. It's restrictive in a way where it's still fun.
This is a big deck. This is gonna be big spells, right?
Technically, yeah. I mean,
Pretty
gotta be
technical.
mana value 4 or greater. So if you're spending a lot of mana, then you're gonna be doing this cool stuff.
Yeah, it's like every big spell cantrips almost, right? I like that.
My only question is why did they put a big spell card with such a tiny little frog
Well, it's gonna grow.
and and it's skittish. It's not even like it's like courageous, you know.
Like
Like,
the little
It'll be
frog's gonna go on a
courageous.
journey, all right? The journey is it starts off little. You're gonna play some big spells. It's gonna get really big, and then it's gonna tap for just absurd amount of mana.
I like it. I like the fact that it is a mana dork that helps just really start to ramp into these big creatures because every time you play a big creature, it gets bigger, allows you to have more mana for the bigger creatures. It kind of
Yeah.
snowballs.
I do see a downside
yeah,
though here.
that is what that does.
What's
You're
your
gonna
downside?
you're gonna cast it and then probably do nothing for the turn, right? Because the minute it comes down, it does nothing for you, which is unfortunate.
I mean, maybe unless you gave it haste or something.
Sure, that's true, but I'm just saying, unless you're holding this up in a late game where you cast this and then another force mana spell, like it's mainly just gonna be like, all right, cast my commander. Go ahead, Steven, you can do your thing now. Then next turn, I'm gonna have a sick turn.
Well, the good
I
news
mean, but I
is,
feel like that's most of the time with I'd say that's like 80% of the commanders that come out most of the time. I mean, granted, not everything can be Nadu. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
I like the just stuff that happens at least on your I don't know. Remember you made the comment of when a card says at the end of turn or end of something that at least it gets a trigger right away, not the beginning of your upkeep. So it's like I don't know. I'm just saying that the card's still fantastic, I think, but it just a little slow. That's all.
I don't think
I
it's
think,
slow. I think, I think you're playing things that get things out a little bit faster.
and this is your favorite mana cost, Steven.
Yeah, I do love
3.
3 mana cost commanders. It is nice.
Chef's kiss.
Nice. Let's go ahead and move on to the grades, Steven. We'll start with you.
I love the colors here. I will give this. I think I'm actually gonna give this a B. I think that it's got a lot of fun mechanics that you can pull off, and then yeah, I just green for the pump so you can make Helga really big so you can get there faster, and then just the blue for a little protection, and then white to say no sometimes by wiping everything when they hurt you.
White to say no, not blue. Um, I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to give this a B2. I like the fact that all 3 colors are represented in what the card does. So draw a card for blue, gain life for white, and counters for green. I think that's cool. So yeah, B.
Hey, early morning grades. We're all gonna start off with B's.
There we go. Helga, Skittish Seer gets the average grade of a B. Moving on to Hugs, Grisly Guardian. It's X, 2 red, 2 green, For a 5/5 legendary creature, Badger Warrior. It's got trample, and it says when it enters, exile the top X cards of your library until the end of your next turn. You may play those cards. It also says you may play an additional land on each of your turns.
Hmm.
I think we got a dud.
I mean, we got like a helper in another deck somewhere.
It was still a dud at the helm
It does help you dig, but
when it enters.
yeah,
And
and
these
you're also
colors,
gonna
you
be
can't really blink.
yeah.
And when you blink it, it doesn't do anything
I'll
because
say yeah, blinking doesn't even
you got to
matter.
cost for X.
Huh. I don't know. I
It's
feel
a
like it's gonna.
one-time effect every time it comes down, so it's not doing it for me. Steven, how about you?
I mean, I don't know why we're even bringing this card up.
Hey. 4 mana, you get to play another land every turn.
You're not wrong, and I think that's what
Sure.
bothers me. No, I just this card is it's very interesting. Like Shane said, I think this is a helper in another deck, but at the same time, like unless you've literally built your board state to make yourself infinite mana, there's nothing this card can do for you whatsoever. Like you're paying 4 mana just to get a 5/5 down, which is pretty good with trample. I do like that. Being able to play an additional land, nothing to scoff at, but what are you going to do once you invest all your mana to play this card? You're going to hopefully get a card to have that extra. If you have 2 mana left over, like it's not good. It's not viable.
You're sad if it gets countered too, because it doesn't have any trigger until it enters. So I
Hey,
don't know. I think you can actually just make this just Gruul Smash, obviously. That's kind of it though.
it does stay
I
until
mean,
your next turn though.
yeah, I was gonna say, to be fair, I mean, at least you have to your next turn, which is kind of nice. I just, I don't know, man. Like when I think Gruul, like I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of like playing cards from exile payoffs, especially in Magic. So, I kind of see that aspect of this card, and I'm sure there's definitely a lane to go down. But it's just, I don't know. When I think Gruul, I don't think I want to exile the cards from my life. I just rather play like a Tali. I don't know.
I
That's
think I'll put this.
Primal Conqueror in particular.
I'll put this in my Faldorn deck. All right.
that's good.
Faldorn.
Um, I mean, it does the ramp thing pretty aggressively.
True.
Like if you exile 3 cards and you hit 2 lands, and you already played a land for turn, play land from exile as your second land, and then the next turn, play one more land and then another land. You're ramping pretty aggressively. And then if it does die, using all those lands that you played, cast it more for X, get more stuff. I don't know. I'm just trying to talk it up,
Yeah,
even though I
there's no
don't like it.
payoff here. I don't like it either, actually.
I
I'm
wish
looking at this.
they saved the word hugs more for a group hugs commander, but
I mean, I
fun.
love the card name with the art here.
He's hugging it to death.
It's
he
already
is.
dead. It's a skeleton, man.
Well, he's super dead then.
Hug smash. All right. Well, let's go ahead and move on to the grades. I'll kick us off. Hugs is getting a D from me.
I'm gonna sit right there with you, buddy. I'm gonna give this card a D as well.
I don't think it's a good commander. I'm going to an F.
Dang.
In the almighty words of Hunter. Whoa!
Whoa.
My almighty words. Hugs gets the average grade of a D. Next up is Kastral the Windcrested. 3 white blue for a 4/5 legendary creature bird scout. It's got flying, and it says whenever one or more birds you control deal combat damage to a player, choose one. You may put a bird creature card from your hand or graveyard onto the battlefield with a finality counter on it. Or put a plus one counter on each bird you control. Or draw a card.
Bird
An
travel,
F.
baby.
I was going to say, you like Azorius, right, Shane?
Yeah. I like birds
like-
too.
Uh-huh.
And I like
No.
cheating things out. Hey,
Uh-huh.
I don't know how many viable birds there are for me to do this with, but playing things from not even playing, just putting things from my hand for free, pretty good.
This card's an F.
Why is
Oh.
it an F?
It's fun.
So a long time ago, when I first got into Magic, I was
Oh,
on
I
the
know
Facebook
this.
Marketplace.
Oh, that's right.
And I purchased a deck, and you could just say dealer's choice, or you could pick a card type. And I said dealer's choice, and it was $11 for a 100 card commander deck. And it showed up, and it was bird tribal, and I was so upset.
What?
And
Imagine if
it's
you had
ruined
this.
birds for me.
Imagine if this was your commander.
Yeah. No.
Would have made birds better.
No, on a real note, I think this card's good. I love effects that pull things from the graveyard, and obviously there's definitely ways to pitch things into your graveyard or just discard or mill yourself. So I mean, this does have a lot of avenues, and I hate the question at the table when I'm playing. Do you have flying? Ah, you don't. I'll swing at you. Cool.
Yeah, I think it's a fun commander because it's whenever it deals combat damage to a player. So it means if you can spread the love to different players, you can trigger one mode 3 times if you
Yeah.
hit 3 players, or just do all 3 modes.
That's true,
So,
actually. Damn. Didn't think about that.
I mean, putting a +1/+1 on your entire board is definitely aggressive.
Very.
Yeah,
I
especially
do
if you
like
had a
all these
bird with double
abilities.
strike, hits
Yeah.
first, put a counter on everything, hits again, do another trigger.
I
Yeah,
do. Yeah.
I am a fan of this.
I think it's
I
going
think
to
it's
be
pretty
just a
cool.
bit more casual. I don't know.
Yeah.
The CMC kind
5
of.
mana.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a pretty powerful effect though,
it is. I
especially
agree.
because birds, anything with flying usually gets in kind of early. So
That's
if we can
true.
get this out a little earlier, I know we're not in the colors to ramp too much.
Well,
Obviously, you can get some mana rocks and stuff out,
What do you mean,
but
dude? Jeweled Lotus, Mana Vault, perfect colors.
all right, sorry. So the word casual is out the window now.
yeah, I was gonna say, um, but I think this bird kindred deck is pretty viable, especially if you're just cheating out giant birds.
If there are giant birds, yeah.
Man, birds.
Only
Let's go ahead.
concentrated Sphinx was a bird.
Dude, or dragons. 'Cause they're kind of like ancient birds, right?
They're like big birds with
Ancient,
scales, right?
ancient birds. Yeah. That's how that works. But no, let's go ahead and move on to the grades. Shane, we'll start with you.
I think people will have a lot of fun with this if this is the kind of deck you want to play. I don't think it's super duper powerful. I'm still middle of the road though, see.
I think that it is pretty powerful. I think that this is definitely like a really fun casual style deck, unless you throw Jeweled Lotus or Mana Vault in it. But the mana cost is super aggressive to me, and I think after this card dies twice, it's out the window. So I'm gonna stick with a C. I did want to give this card a B though.
Yeah, I'm actually going to join the both of you. I think Kastral here is just going to be a C for me too. And with that, Kastral the Windcrested gets the average grade of a C. Moving on to Mabel, Heir to Cragflame. It's 1 red, white for a 3/3 legendary creature, Mouse Soldier. It says other mice you control get +1/+1. And when Mabel enters, create Cragflame. A legendary colorless equipment artifact token with equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has vigilance, trample, and haste. Equip cost of 2. I think it's cool. I just don't think it's a good commander.
Hey, you're the Boris
No.
player. Tell me, Boris.
I am the Boros
I
player.
don't know
I
who
mean,
Boris is. Sorry.
Boros mice, if you will. This just enters and makes an equipment, and if the equipment is still there, it enters and never does anything again.
I
So
mean,
it's just
It's a
say it,
lord.
Shane. It's a mouse
It's a mouse
lord.
lord.
what do you mean the equipment just stays there and never does anything again? It's got an equip cost of 2.
No, I mean if the equipment is already on the field, this is not entering and making an additional equipment.
Yeah,
Because it's
it'd die
legendary.
instantly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's effects to make things not legendary, but like, why are you putting one card out of 99 to make that happen? I mean, you could. I mean, there's definitely ways to search for equipments in these colors, or not equipments, but artifacts in these colors. So I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility, but it is just a lot of hoops to go around. I do have a question for you though, Hunter. In standard, how are Boros mice doing?
They're doing great,
Hmm.
and Mabel's not part of it at all.
Damn.
Heard. I think that's all I needed to know.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, but wait. The same way that you built, I get that the deck it functions a little better, but you built Gev because you liked the theme, right? Your lizards, and I feel like if someone wants to build a mouse tribal deck for just memes or casual, like I would make Mabel my commander for sure.
Suppose, but I mean, at the end of the day,
Hmm,
it is just a lord.
that's true.
And is that good enough just to be a commander? I don't think so.
Probably not. Yeah, probably not. That's like if you made a Merfolk deck where the Merfolk commander was only just a lord. Probably wouldn't do that.
Cool. It's cool. Don't get me wrong. Mabel, big part of the story.
Yeah.
Just not as powerful as I would like her to be. Let's
I
go
mean, I
ahead and
will
move.
say before we move on, I know this can sound crazy. I think this is my favorite art
This
for
one.
the card. It's sick, man.
It does make me want
Jeez.
to play the card really bad.
It makes me like, so when I saw this card, I saw the art and I was like, this card is gonna have the sickest ability. And then I saw the text and I was like, man, that is deceiving.
Yeah, when it was first spoiled, I remember just thinking like, I'm gonna make this a commander. It's gonna be so much fun to be like a mouse tribal. Nah.
It is kind of meh. Let's go ahead and move on to the grades. I'll kick us off. Oh boy. Unfortunately, I am going to give Mabel a D here.
I won't go to a D. I think that there's definitely some fun lanes, and just because it does make that equipment for 3, and then you can just like have it on the field at all times. I think that's pretty cool. And I do like the Lord effect, even though it's not super popular to put as a commander, but I'm gonna give this a C.
I think the comparison I made to a Merfolk Lord being your commander kind of turned me off to this. So I'm gonna give it a D as well.
Mabel, heir to Cragflame, gets the average grade of a D. Moving on to a Raccoon Warrior, it's Muerra, Trash Tactician. It's 1 red, green for a 2/4 legendary creature, Raccoon Warrior. It says at the beginning of your first main phase, add a red or green for each raccoon you control. Whenever you expend 4, you gain 3 life. And whenever you expend 8, exile the top 2 cards of your library until the end of your next turn. You may play those cards. In case you don't remember, expending is spending mana to cast spells. So, pretty cool. I like the expend mechanic a lot. Just casting spells gives you extra kind of stuff. um, but is this good?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was like, how many raccoons do you have to run to make this worth it? Like, just the commander alone gives you 1 mana, right? Pretty good.
It does. Yeah.
And then you're just getting stuff for playing Magic.
Getting
I mean,
stuff for
3
cool.
mana to get a mana on each of your first main phases afterwards is pretty good. Gaining life is pretty solid, and then the expend 8. Like, let's be honest with you, you're gonna cast 8 mana worth of spells, like pretty much every time.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Well, you'd set your deck up to where you'd hopefully do it. Yeah.
I mean, it's gruel. You're ramping, you're playing big stompy stuff, and you're hurting people. This is great. Now, granted, I think if David were here, they would probably say like, I think that first piece of text is flavor. I think it's really the other two that you're kind of looking at the most. But I don't know. I mean, Raccoon Tribal. Maybe in future sets we'll kind of get some more, help for it. But
I wouldn't say the first part's flavor because it does proc itself, right? So it's adding mana to itself
sure, I mean, it
without
is helping you
without
get to
having
that
to
point.
without even having to tap, which is great.
I think
I
I
it
don't
is.
mean,
know.
plus a 3 mana 2/4, pretty solid.
It's interesting. Yeah, you have to note too that because I think David and I had the same thing. You have to actually spend that mana on spells. Not like we had the thought of maybe you could dump the mana into like activating abilities or something, which does not work here. So it's
Nope.
definitely got to be
Have to
casting
spend it on
spells.
spells. I don't know. Currently in Magic, there are 21 cards that are a raccoon in these colors, including Muerra itself. Um, I don't, I don't know. I'm not here for it. I mean, sure, spend 4 mana, gain 3 life. You have to
I mean,
always spec. You have to spend 8 mana on casting spells to
Mm-hmm.
exile the top 2
Yeah.
until you're. I don't. It's not doing enough for me personally. I don't like it.
so this is what I hate about new sets that come out where they care so much about Kindred and they're really important to them, but there's not enough support for them. Uh, Again, I know Magic when they think about sets. I mean, they probably have the next year and a half to. I mean, knowing Magic, probably the next 10 years worth of sets out.
They say they're 2 years ahead.
So I get this card. I think it'll just be better in the future, but right now, kind of like what you're saying, Hunter, it's not really there for me right now.
Nope. Maybe we'll get a Raccoon Kindred deck in the future, but with 21 cards, kind of based on that. And sure, you can do the Gruul Stompy Smash thing, continue to cast spells because expending spells, you don't have to expend just on one spell. Do multiple spells. That's fine. But you do have to expend 8. And I feel like if you're spending 8 mana, and sure, you can put a lot of heavy things to make a ton of mana in Gruul. But most of the time, if you're at a casual table and you're expending 8, you're probably done spending mana.
Oh yeah, it'll be till next turn.
Which hopefully
No,
the cards
that's not
that you
true. You'll have all 21 raccoons on the field.
which hopefully you flip over 2 cards that you can play next turn to expend again, which would be cool, and just keep snowballing. But that's a very rare magical Christmas land kind of, because I know me, I'll expend 8 and I'll flip over 2 lands. So
Won't miss a land drop.
won't miss a land drop. You will exile 1 land forever though, because you can only play 1 land.
You don't need the other one.
But let's go ahead and move on to the grades. We will start with you, Steven.
Kind of like I was mentioning earlier, I think with extra support, this card would be a B for me, but just because Gruul has so many possibilities and so many amazing other commanders, I'm not really here for it, so I will put this at a C.
You know, I talked myself out of it pretty heavily, but I think I'm still going to go with my gut here. I think I'm going to give this a D.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, I said it. I think I'm gonna put this in my Faldorn deck. This just seems more as a support at the moment, so I'm gonna give it a D as a commander.
Muerra Trash Tactician gets the average grade of a D. Next up is the Infamous Cruelclaw. It's 1 black red for a 3/3 legendary creature Weasel Mercenary. It's got menace, and it says whenever the Infamous Cruelclaw deals combat damage to a player, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card. You may cast that card by discarding a card rather than paying its mana cost. For the memes, Steven, tell me about this meme deck.
Yeah, it's an A.
I was gonna say, I mean, you could build a meme, but my God, this does not need to be a meme. This could be mean.
I mean, this card is so fun to me because it could do kind of like the Child of Alara things, you know, where you just kind of like build a 99 land deck, and this is the only other card. Because obviously everyone, when this card came out, everyone freaked out. They were like World Fire, and it's gone. It literally, that one card has skyrocketed in price because of Cruelclaw. I do like that. I think it'd be really fun, but just for the fact that this card can do what it does, it has menace for the good evasion. It comes down, you know, let's say if you're ramping turn 3 or turn 2, I'm sorry, you could start building a pretty aggressive board state. But I hear, do you guys hear them?
No,
In
no,
the back of your head?
I don't hear
Is
anything.
David's in the back of my head right now.
What are they saying?
He's saying, wait, the whiff potential.
Hmm.
I always hear that in the back of my head. But I mean, you're always getting a non-land card, so even if you hit like an artifact that helps you ramp, I don't really see a lot of negative here. I think this card's really fun. I think you put more lands in this than anything. I think most of the time, whenever I'm playing cards and I just draw that land, I get really pissed. But that's a card I can just pitch. You know, I think that's why I like this card a lot.
Okay, hear me out.
No.
I know we try to avoid the topic of dies to removal, but I feel like your entire deck is trying to do what Cruelclaw wants to do. And if this continues to die to removal, I don't think your deck is doing what you want it to do.
No, you're not
I
allowed.
think it is.
You're not allowed to have that argument.
I know, but this deck literally shuts off if you get rid of Infamous Cruelclaw because you're trying to cheat out stuff, right?
No, but you could just.
Yeah, but
You really
here's
want to do?
all right. So now you got to hear me out. You
Okay.
ready?
Mm-hmm.
You're at the table.
I am.
Your
there.
commander's died. Your cards died 3 times. Cost
Okay.
a ton to get it back out.
Okay.
Cost 9.
You got this other guy in front of you with a board state from Timbuktu to Kingdom Come, and
Very
he's
far
just
away.
like, "What am I gonna do? Kill the guy that can't do anything?" No, he's gonna feel pity for you because that's what Magic's all about. They feel pity for the guy that has nothing going on. It's
I don't know
perfect.
if that's true.
Hey, now you get to hear me out, okay?
Okay, here we go.
Okay, here we
Alright,
go.
here we
So, I'm playing Cruelclaw and it's died a lot, right? I got nothing
Okay.
on my board. I'm looking at
Uh-huh.
Steven that's set. He's just gonna swing at me and kill me. That's what
Why
Steven
would I
does.
do that?
Because that's what you
Say
do.
kill David first,
No.
kill Hunter,
No.
and then I move to you.
All joking aside, I don't think it's that big of a deal, Hunter. I wouldn't personally build this in the style where you're only doing a thing if he's on the field. Like, I would build this into like a madness deck. I'd build this into just a bunch of good stuff kind of thing. You don't have, like, obviously you want to do what Cruelclaw does. That ability is the point of the deck. But you can still just be doing stuff, like discarding some shit, madnessing some stuff. Like you could do some stuff around this. I think.
That and you put lizard blades or anything that gives us double strike.
True.
You get 2 of those abilities. I will say this card will eat a ton of removal.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
Just make
most of the
politics.
time, I think people are playing this with Obosh,
Interesting.
which, yeah, like pretty heavily, which is cool. Um, I don't know, man, but the just funny that Steven mentioned Worldfire because Worldfire is the meme right now, right? And yes, Worldfire, since this card has been announced, Infamous Cruelclaw, Worldfire has actually doubled in price. It used to be $16, it's 32. You can get on TCG, which would be super mean.
Not
But
sponsored.
Nobody wants to
not
play against that, dude.
yeah,
You play that, I'm
Yeah.
just gonna be like, I scoop. Game 2.
yeah. Hey, but everybody's on the same playing field, right? Whoever
Not when you
can
have an Infamous
out-
Cruelclaw out.
Yeah, but it kills it. Worldfire kills Cruelclaw.
Yeah, but so here's my thing. That's why it's fun because it kills Cruelclaw, but you'll probably have a ton of lands in your hand because if you're playing the meme, you have 99 lands. So you're
Mhm.
probably just playing Cruelclaw again, and then your opponents have to basically rebuild a board state they probably can't really do anything about. And this has Menace.
True. So you should win. Worldfire. Build it. 99
No.
or 98 lands, Worldfire,
Don't do
Cruelclaw.
it.
Done.
Don't do it.
Let's go ahead and move on to the grades, though. Steven, we'll start with you.
Listen, I'm here for memes, and even if you don't build it in the meme way, it's still gonna be fun. I'm gonna give this card an A.
Yeah,
You want to
Okay.
do it?
So this can be your Eldrazi commander. You can start casting Eldrazi for pitching a card, which is fantastic. And let me tell you, I'm on board with it. I know I talked it down a little bit, but sometimes you just gotta play it like that. You gotta look at the other side of the coin, glass half empty. But I'm giving it a B.
While you were talking, I thought you were about to say an A with Steven. Jeez.
Mm.
I'm on board as well, though. I want to play Madness and cheat out big stuff. Giving it a B.
The infamous Cruelclaw is the average grade of a B. Moving on to a Demir card, it's Vren the Relentless. 2 blue-black for a 3/4 legendary creature rat rogue. It's got ward 2. It says if a creature an opponent controls would die, exile it instead. It also says at the beginning of each end step, create X 1/1 black rat creature tokens with this creature gets +1/+1 for each other rat you control, where X is the number of creatures your opponents controlled that were exiled this turn. This is a pretty cool rat commander, Steven, in your colors.
Yeah, sure is. I don't know, I'm so twisted on this card. Like I really like it and then I really don't like it. Uh I mean, it's fun, man. I do like it. I just essentially what are you doing? You're playing a board wipe and then you're playing this, so you're investing a ton of mana. This doesn't really come down on your turn on curve, I don't feel like. Most of the time, unless you're building like a massive deck with spot removal and counters. Because in all honesty, you really don't need creatures in this deck, which I know sounds crazy, but I think you just play a bunch of counters and kill spells, and you're just building a board state that's super aggressive. Maybe a couple creatures that have like that flashback marauder kind of like playcrafter feel, where each opponent sacrifices a creature, so you're making a ton of them. But other than that, I mean, it's a pretty solid card. I think Ward 2, normally we're always like, oh, it's Ward's kind of getting kind of silly now, but I mean, this is pretty solid. Low ground, high ceiling, we like to say, right?
Sure.
Floor.
Low ground.
I actually like this card a lot. I think you hit the nail on the head there. I was actually going to talk about the kind of the aristocrat strategy of making everybody sack a creature as well as you. All those creatures that your opponents have to sacrifice. That makes 3 rats. You're just growing your board exponentially with that kind of strategy. And they get way bigger for all your rats. I like this card a lot. It kind of saw a little bit of play in standard. I've seen a couple decks run this, and rats seem to be kind of turning into a thing in standard. I know we're not going to talk about standard, obviously, because this is a commander grade. But I see the potential there. from the card itself, and it gets out of control pretty quickly. And I think it could do that in even exponentially better in Commander.
Yeah, completely agree. I don't, however, think that you need to always, not always, but Steven mentioned board wipes. That's fantastic, obviously, but like you don't need to. Just like you said, spot removal. That's great. Just every time a creature dies, period, you're making big rats. This could be the kind of kindred deck that David would build, where it's a rat deck that this is the only rat that makes the rats and nothing else. There's no other rats in the deck. That's really cool.
Yeah, because when it makes those rats, like just say one thing died, makes a rat. The rat is already a 2/2 because of Vren by itself.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome.
I don't want to retract my previous statement for saying you play a board wipe and then play this. I was excited about the possibility of making a ton of rats, but then I realized you have to be exiled before. So this has to be on the field. So board wipes aren't really good in this deck.
Risk rat
We'll cut that
strategy.
out then.
Just make your opponent sacrifice things. Get rid of a rat. You'll make more.
That's
Rats
true.
will populate so fast.
So
Put
it's
in
kind of like a rat lord,
sacrifice
dude.
engines. Put Phyrexian Altar in, Steven. I think you like that card, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm here for it. Let's move on to the grades. I'll kick us off. I actually think I like Vren a lot, so I'm going to give it a B.
Yeah, I'll join you at a B.
I love it. I want to go B.
Look at us. Vren the Relentless gets the average grade of a B. Moving on to another rat, it's Wick, the World Mind. It's 3 and a black for a 2/4 legendary creature rat warlock. It says whenever Wick or another rat you control enters, create a 1/1 black snail creature token if you don't control a snail. Otherwise, put a +1/+1 counter on a snail you control. It also has an ability you could pay a blue, black, red, sacrifice a snail. Wick deals damage equal to the sacrificed creature's power to each opponent. Then draw cards equal to the sacrificed creature's power.
Damn.
Snail rat kindred deck?
It's so weird because I know this card's popular. I just don't see it.
Yeah, it's actually very popular. I mean, obviously it's going to be rats. I think it's popular because you can build a rat deck in 3 colors, and I think that's where people are kind of going.
I mean, it seems more like a Grixis, like mid-range grindy kind of deck. And I mean, I like Grixis, but I don't know. I think I like this card the most because like it gives me that like obviously you don't ever throw this card in a lot of decks, but the Song of Totenzans, like I played in the Family Matters deck, just making a ton of rats. So I mean, you could do that and then save up that 3 mana to sacrifice a snail because all those rats will enter. You put the +1/+1 counter on the snail.
Yeah, so basically, let's just say that you make 7 rats with the Song of Totentans, right? And there's just a 1/1 snail. You get 7 +1/+1 counters on that snail. That snail's now an 8/8. You sacrifice it. You deal 8 damage to each opponent, and you draw 8 cards.
Pretty strong.
That's pretty strong.
I think in the beginning when this card was first spoiled, David and I were talking about why this doesn't just say a mass snail, but I think it's because you could also maybe have a shapeshifter. If you could have a card that's already out there as a snail potentially, make it get really big. Like it doesn't need to be the snail this creates. Otherwise, we're like, why does it just not say a mass snail? It's basically doing that.
Exactly. You can put any snail that is in Magic on the field.
True.
I mean, how many snails are in Magic anyways?
I don't think it's like any.
Skullcap snail is the only snail in Magic.
I mean, my thing is, and I know we just talked about the reference of, making all those rats, but like if you're doing that, you've invested 8 mana plus the 3 you'll need to use to sacrifice the snail, so that's 11 mana. Granted, dealing 24 damage is aggressive, but is it? I guess 24 damage and drawing
You
8
just say,
cards.
is it worth it?
I mean, is it though? Like, but that's my thing. Like, I mean, why am I even thinking like, is it worth it?
Yeah, actually, dealing 8 damage to each opponent and drawing 8 cards, pretty worth it.
Hopefully you're winning though, because you're putting
that's
a
what I'm
huge target
saying.
on your
Like,
back.
that is a huge target.
Fun card
But
though.
like I
How about
said, I
that?
mean, it's Grixis mid range, man. I mean, it's a grindy game. Like as the game goes on, it's gonna get harder and harder for your opponents to deal with you.
Mm-hmm. Let's go ahead and move on to the grades. We will start with me. Um, I like it. It's gonna be a B.
I like it a lot, Picasso. Um, I don't know, man. I really want to give this a C. My heart's there. I'm gonna give this a C.
My heart's in the snails. I'm going to a B.
Your heart's in the snails.
Your
Well,
heart's in the snails, the one snail in Magic.
No,
the one it makes.
the one it makes.
Wick, the world bind, gets the average grade of a B. Moving on to a new Calamity Beast. It's Ygra, Eater of All. 3 black, green for a 6/6 legendary creature elemental cat. It's got ward, sacrifice a food. As other creatures are food artifacts in addition to their other types and have pay 2, tap, sacrifice is permanent, you gain 3 life. And whenever a food is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put 2 +1/+1 counters on Ygra, Eater of All. Cool.
Turns all your stuff into food.
Turns everything.
That's true.
Turns all creatures into food.
It's pretty good. Basically it says ward, sacrifice a creature.
Exactly that. God, this card is very popular right now. I don't know if I would play it though.
It's weird.
I see it. It's fun. It
It's
is weird.
just different. You know, you don't really think about food style too much. I mean, I think that's more of like it's just an off kilter way to play in my mind. I know it's popular for some people. It's just not there for me. But I mean, this card does go infinite with some cards, which is right where I'm at. But
Love those combos.
I do love my combos. I don't know. It's not really like my play style. I love the
Yeah.
ward. The ward is really fun. I hate the ward would have been fun if the second piece of text wasn't there. Because like, how often do your opponents have a food token? You know, but here we are.
Here we are. I don't know. I like it. I do. Don't get me wrong. You can build this in a very aristocrat strategy deck, making people sacrifice their foods, if you will.
I
And
mean,
it'll get big. It's a 5 mana 6/6. You will really hurt somebody.
got no evasion, unfortunately, but I get it. Put the evasion on there. But it's going to be a big dumb beater on its own, which kind of sucks. But that being said, going back to Steven's point, just get rid of all of their food / creatures, and then boom. They don't have any more food, Steven, so you're good.
Yeah, but how often are you playing something that makes them sacrifice all their creatures and your board state is left alone?
That's true. But if Fauner's playing like aristocrats,
Yeah.
sacrificing that stuff, I don't know. Maybe you play this into an empty board. Not as good, I guess, but you don't have any food to target it unless they play the creature to have the food to then sack. That'd be pretty funny.
I mean, that would make them invest a ton of mana just to kill your commander.
Yeah. And they like 3 for 1 themselves.
To draw your whole deck with Ygra, there's a 3-card combo. You got Ygra, you got Experimental Confectioner, which says when it enters the battlefield, you make a food. And then it also says whenever you sack a food, you make a 1/1 rat. You need another card, which is called Savvy Hunter, which says you can sacrifice 2 foods to draw a card. So you just kind of sack food, make a rat, sack food, make a rat, and then draw. Basically, just you get infinite draw triggers, infinite ETBs, infinite leave the battlefield death triggers, infinite sacrifice triggers, infinite +1/+1s on Ygra. It's a pretty nuts combo with Ygra.
There it is.
It
Steven.
is, but here's the I get you, but here's the thing about that combo that I'm not a fan of. Like, if it's not a combo where you have like Phyrexian Altar that makes you mana for it, I mean, what are you really going to show for it? Now you've invested all the mana into Savvy Hunter, the Confectioner, you got Ygra on the field, so unless like the way that I kind of feel that combo's going is you're building this board state slowly and you have this combo starting to form. And unless you have a ton of mana, what are you going to do with all the cards in your hand? So essentially, you're just kind of hoping that you just draw like half your deck, find a good answer, and then that's really it.
You just swing
I mean,
106
I
commander.
was about to say.
I mean, sure, you're
definitely-
swinging 106 commander. If you have no other mana, this doesn't have trample. It gets blocked by a 1/1. So then
Well,
what?
That's when I say the aristocrat strategy, right? Because if you have like just one other card that says whenever you sacrifice a creature, opponent sacrifices a creature.
So now I need
What?
4 cards.
Hey, man,
I listen, man. Magical Christmas Land is a place, and I've been
it
there.
is. It's a great place, and Ygra can do it all. I'm here for it. I know I was kind of hesitant in the beginning, but I see that this can be a very, very mean deck. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the grades, Steven.
I'm gonna give it a C. I just like I like the combo route, but it's so long.
I too think I can respect the deck. I'm gonna give it a C in my opinion.
I respect the deck as well, but I'm going up to a B. The average grade for Ygra, Eater of All, is a C. And our final legendary creature from Bloomburrow is going to be Zoraline Cosmos Collar. It's 1 white black for a 3/3 legendary creature bat cleric. It's got flying, it's got vigilance, and it says whenever a bat you control attacks, you gain 1 life. And whenever it enters or attacks, you may pay white, black, and 2 life. When you do, return target non-land permanent card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it. Pretty cool
Sorry, did you
card.
say Cosmos Collar or Zoraline the better Sun Titan?
The better Sun Titan. Is it better?
1000%.
Why?
What do you mean?
Tell me why.
It's cheaper. Number 1. Evasion. It's got the vigilance, which is fun, and then this gives you a really fun lord effect because you're building bat tribal. Let's be honest here. That whenever a bat attacks, you gain 1 life. So if I have 5 bats, I get 5 life, and they're more than likely going to have flying. Believe it or not,
How many damn bats are in the game?
a decent amount.
There are quite a bit of bats in this game. I would say that I would probably build this more of like a lifelink deck, rather than just bat kindred. But you do you, Steven.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, there are plenty of cards that care about entering the battlefield and going to the graveyard. So just being able to constantly kind of like loop effects like that would be really fun. I just, this card's really fun to me. I mean, a 3/3 flying vigilant commander is really good.
There are 42 cards that are bats, including this one
Perfect.
in Commander.
I mean, I understand the lifelink kind of tribal, like, I understand the lifelink kind of vibe you're trying to go for, but if you're just building the bats, you're getting that lifelink anyway. So you might as well just build bats. Sprinkle a
but you
little
know,
lifelink in there.
It's cool if you add bats. Every time a bat attacks, you gain a life, but this triggers itself. So
Oh.
you're going to be gaining that life with this. And on attacks, you're essentially paying 1 life because you're gaining the life and then losing 2 life. So it's weird that it wants to do it like that. But I think it's pretty cool. I think it's very viable. Having your stuff come back is also really cool. And I've already said it with these finality counters. Seems like they continuously push these. So they're going to be staying in Magic for a very long time.
Yeah.
I think moving those finality counters to something like nesting ground onto your opponent's things are also very cool. I like it. I like Zoraline.
I kind of just see another Orzhov gain and drain deck to me. I don't know, which I like doing, so I'm sure I'll like this card.
Yeah, I mean, of course you'll find that way. And if your board gets wiped or for whatever reason, your commander can bring stuff back.
Yeah.
And that's very cool.
Very true. And the fact that it's
Very
not
true.
only bringing back, like you keep mentioning creatures, but any non-land permanent.
Mhm.
If a piece that you were using to gain drain gets dealt with, bring it back, unless it's too big, obviously. But so it's pretty
Also-
flexible.
Also, you just pitch stuff into your grave, bring it back that way.
Mhm.
True.
So
I mean, that's why I like this card a lot. I love decks where the mana value curve is very small because you're able to just pump stuff out And at this point with Zoraline, you can kind of do that in the aspect of like, even if your board gets wiped, you just replay Zoraline and then hopefully bring some stuff back. And that's like, even like somebody target spot removals like your Soul Ring or an Arcane Signet or any kind of like ramp, you can just bring that back with a finality counter because it doesn't care if it's a creature or not. It just cares if it's mana value 3 or less. So
What a good point, Steven.
Let's go ahead and move on to the grades. We will start with you, Shane.
I'm here for the bat. I'm here for the gain life drain. I'm gonna give it a B.
You know, I'm actually going to go one lower than you, Shane. I think it's kind of average still in my kind of head. So Zoraline for me is getting a C.
Shane, what does Bat start with?
That's a big old B there, buddy.
I'll tell you what I'm going to give it then, a B.
Love it.
Well, Zoraline Cosmos Collar gets the average grade of a B. And that is going to do it for us today. If you guys liked this video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. We are finished with Bloomburrow. That is right. That's all of the legendary creatures from the set. Hope you guys enjoyed all these commander grades. Once again, if you wanted to check out the rest of them, if you haven't seen them all, check the description. Also in the description, you will find links to all of our social media accounts. It's TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, @GuysAtMagic for each one. Comment down below. Do you guys agree with our grades? Maybe you're building a deck of one of these cards and we just completely missed on it. Always interested to hear other opinions on these cards, so comment in the comment section below. And on the screen right now, those are all of our Patreon subscribers. Thank you guys so much for your added support. It really does mean the world to us. If you guys wanted to check out what they are seeing, which is not here on YouTube, we got exclusive content on our Patreon. Check the link in the description as well and consider subscribing. And until the next video, hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Peace.
Hope you guys have a Guys That Magic day.
Bye bye.